Okay, so there's a YouTube channel called Waffles, and he's basically one of these guys that tell men that you'll never be enough, that you're just a number, and if you're not number 10, if you're not the best looking guy ever, you'll never be able to find a date. So, yeah, this kind of content started appearing like 10, 15 years ago, where you have these guys that are just saying, it's over, you're not Chad, it's over, you're not Tyrone, and you'll just have channel after channel saying the same thing. Now, these channels have disappeared for a couple of years. They took off at around 2018, and then they just disappeared for a while. But now this guy is trying to bring that stuff back. So let's watch some of his videos. So this video is titled, "You've Been Warned, Ugly Men Do Not Approach Women." So let's click on this.
I'm literally shaking right now because I just had a man approach me in a parking lot and it went fine. And I'm going to tell you why it went fine and how to address it, because it was in a book I read and this is how you're supposed to address it, but it scared me. I'm literally shaking. So this guy, I am alone with my son, by myself, a woman, and a male approached me in a parking lot. He's, "Excuse me, miss," and I don't know why in the hell he was approaching me or what he was trying to do. And before he was probably 30 feet from me when he said, "Excuse me, ma'am," and I turned around and I literally...
So he said, "Excuse me, ma'am." Excuse me, man. That doesn't seem like it's a crime.
yelled at him and I said, "Do not."
So this is an extreme example. I don't think it's fair to tell all men never approach women because you might get yelled at. That's pretty certain that eventually, if you talk to 100 women, some woman will yell at you. That's just a given. Me and my buddy, my wingman, we used to approach women all the time, and we used to get yelled at all the time. That's just part of the game. That's just part of learning. If you just never do it because you're afraid you're going to get yelled at, what is yelling? That doesn't hurt you. Words don't hurt you. So just making this whole video of don't approach women, do you think that's reasonable for men who are struggling with their self-esteem to listen to? Is this good content for struggling men to listen to? Of course not.
Approach me, and he immediately started going in the other direction, and I just kept saying it over and over and over. I said, "Do not approach me, do not approach me." And he, of course,
So this is fear-mongering. This is an extreme example. Just like you might walk outside and get freaking shot. Yeah, it can happen, and it'll probably be bad for you, but is that going to stop you from walking outside? Is that going to stop you from sitting on your front porch just because you might get shot? Come on, man.
got what the F, he started cussing and yelling, what's your problem? And I looked at him, and he actually then crossed a couple cars down from my car. He didn't come anywhere near me. He crossed a couple cars down from my car and was like, continuing to cuss and say, "What's your problem?" And I said, "You do not approach women in a parking lot."
So this is one of the third wave feminist types. These are radical feminists. The average woman, I don't think, is a radical feminist, because otherwise society would be unlivable. If everybody was like this person, society would literally collapse, because men would refuse to do any work, men would refuse to pay rent. It would just collapse. So there's enough good women out there for society to just not completely collapse. And he's painting it, what's his name? Waffles, he's painting it like this is every woman. All women are like this. Yeah, you shouldn't even try to approach them. Like, come on, man. Is this good? No wonder men aren't having sex like they used to have sex, because of people like this fear-mongering conversations, fear-mongering social activities. Oh, if you say hi to something, they might laugh at you. They might bully you. They might do something that is bad for you. If you walk up to a person and say, "Hi, how are you doing?" He might punch you in the face, but is that going to stop you from saying, "Hi, how are you doing?" We've become so weak, so neutered, so fearful as a species that something as simple, something as basic as talking to another human being has become controversial. We are no longer humans. We are neutered robots. And this guy's Mr. Wheats is perpetuating that.
I just kept saying, do not approach me. You do not approach women in a parking lot, like yelling it. No male should ever approach a woman in a parking lot, ever.
So let's skip ahead to another one, because this is just one person. Let's see what his thoughts on this are.
Analogy. Most of you will be familiar with the insects moths and butterflies. Moths are seen as ugly creatures, an annoyance, vermin, and are okay to exterminate. Whereas butterflies are seen as beautiful insects, colourful, pristine, and should be protected. Now, the reason I've brought this up
Okay, let me go back. So the reason why we don't like moths is because moths literally eat your clothes. Moths literally just destroy your items. Butterflies don't do that. There's nothing negative about butterflies. If you have a moth inside your house, it could literally tear a hole through your clothes.
ugly creatures, an annoyance, vermin, and are okay to exterminate. Whereas
Who do you know that's saying exterminate all moths? Nobody is saying that. Nobody's saying exterminate all. Who's saying that? Is there anybody advocating for that? No, nobody's advocating for that. Show me one person who wants to exterminate all moths. Most people will recognize that moths are an important part of the current ecosystem.
as butterflies are seen as beautiful insects, colourful, pristine, and should be protected. Now,
Is he seriously comparing humans to freaking moths? Like, ugly people are a completely different species? No. He's basically saying if you're like a 5 out of 10 guy and you're being compared to a 10 out of 10 guy, then you're just a different species. You're subhuman. Which is that really healthy for men to hear, to just constantly be told you're not good enough? You're nowhere near as worthy as this guy who apparently has everything you don't. And you just constantly tell him this channel is probably the worst thing ever for somebody here. This is just completely detrimental to mental health. This channel.
the reason I've brought this up is because these two insects at face value are extremely similar in terms of anatomy and life cycle. But the most striking difference is that one was blessed with beautiful colours, therefore seen as valuable, while the other was cursed with ugly colours, therefore
So basically this guy is saying brown is an ugly color. So yeah, this is clearly something's wrong with him. Oh man, that moth is brown instead of a bunch of random colors. Oh man, we gotta exterminate them. Like, what the hell, man? People don't think like this unless you're like deranged.
seen as worthless. Just some
Who is saying moths are worthless? Oh, if anything, all bugs are worthless. I mean, freaking flies. They have a bunch of colory eyes. They have like green, some red, some brown. They have color too. There's millions of different species of fly, and a lot of them have color to it. However, we still don't like flies because it's just a menace. It just destroys it infects your whole house with nasty fly poop. It eats your food. It's not just because of color. It has to do with a lot more factors than just the moth is brown, the butterfly it color no. This is not healthy thinking. The reason why we have a mental health crisis is because people sit indoors, stare at a computer screen or a phone screen, and watch these kinds of videos.
Food for thought to start off. Now looking at the clip, I have absolutely no way of verifying this, but I could bet any money that the man who approached this woman was certainly a sub-5 ugly.
Now notice he has no proof. He has literally no proof. Oh, it was probably an ugly guy, right? If it was so certain that looks means women will literally freak out on you if you're ugly, then surely he could choose a better example. In this example, he doesn't even show what the guy looks like. Why not show an example where you can actually see what the guy looks like? And if he was really a 3 out of 10, like this guy's claiming, this guy's just deranged. Completely deranged. And, this guy clearly doesn't get laid because otherwise he wouldn't be making these videos.
Guy. And the reason I think this is because the way women treat ugly men and attractive men are literally light years apart from one another.
Again, this is not true. Men out there that don't think you have the best looks, don't listen to this guy, because I've seen some butt ugly people with hot girlfriends. Fat, lazy, but they still have girlfriends. Matter of fact, they can have multiple one night stands in one day. It doesn't matter. It's just putting yourself out there. You gotta be willing to throw things at the wall and see if it sticks. If you just say, I'm not good enough, I'll never be like Chad, you'll never, ever, ever have success.
Ugly men, women don't want to be associated at all. They see them as an embarrassment.
Now, notice he's just saying things with no proof. Why would I listen to a guy tell me what women think and what women wants? That's ridiculous. And this guy's the biggest grifter in the Manosphere right now. Yeah, just women don't want you. Women don't want you. Oh, pay me like $100 and I'll tell you what you need to do to get women to want you. No. It's gotten so bad with these grifters. They're actually doing real societal damage with these videos. How much men have killed themselves by watching these videos? They're already in a tough spot. They're already on the fence. They're going through depression. Maybe they're late on their mortgage. And he watches this video. Do you think he's going to come out the other side of the video with a positive outlook on life? No. He's going to say, what the heck is the point if I'm not Chad? It's not like I can change my facial expressions. So I guess it's over. So let me just jump off a bridge and let Chad have his fun.
Lowering their social value, and at a worst case, dangerous. Whereas for attractive men, they are seen as safe, kind, and compassionate. Even studies show better looking people are treated better. This article from a women's magazine shows a study, on average, attractive male and female servers made about $1,200 more a year than unattractive servers. Mostly due to the disparity in women's tips. That's right, women are way more superficial than society wants you to believe.
So let me see here. It says the researchers estimate that on average, now keyword, on average. That doesn't mean every single time. Keep in mind, people are individuals. People are not a hive mind. So on average just means on average. And, you know, the way he paints this is like, if you have an attractive server and an ugly server, that always means the attractive server will make more than the ugly server. Nah. You can do things to change that. You can come up, because humans have the biggest, most effective brains in the animal species. So come up with different plans, change some things around, and you will easily be able to surpass the person who just relies on looks.
So, back to my prediction of the man who approached this woman. I am extremely confident that he would have looked like this, a bottom 10%er in terms of appearance.
Well, notice his face is sad. He has this sad face, and the guy he just showed was smiling. So why would they show somebody sad? They should show somebody smiling. At least he looks lost and confused.
Because if we hear some of her quotes, I am literally shaking right now, because I just had a man approach me in the parking lot. Now, why would she be shaking after just having a man approach her? I mean, I can tell you myself, as a non-ugly guy, this is not...
So notice he says, I'm a non-ugly guy. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not ugly based on your own opinion, not based on what is actually happening in the world. Okay, you can rate... Who the hell rates themselves? Who says, I'm a 10 out of 10. I'm basically Chad. I'm Chad. Duh. Like, putting so much emphasis on looks when people 100 years ago, they weren't half as good looking as we were. So people are getting more attractive over time. So our great grandparents, they were ugly, very ugly, but they still managed to make huge families, have good social connections, a roof over their head, 3 meals a day. You know, if you're just saying, oh man, if we all just look better, that will fix all of society's problems. No, it won't. We have to tear down the system piece by piece in order to make sure everyone is happy. Looking good won't bring happiness. There's plenty of good-looking people that are just suffering right now because of the system. They don't have time to have relationships because they're working like 80 hours a week. Most men, they don't have relationships because they're working too much. They're living paycheck to paycheck, or they're not socialized enough. They're living in some sort of suburb where there's nothing to do and they don't have any friends, and it's hard to make friends, so they just stay at home all day and play video games. That's the real reason why most men are single. And this guy's just downplaying that, like, oh man, it's just based on looks. No, it's not. No, it's not, man. And it's honestly frightening how this guy has managed to accumulate 130,000 subscribers. That's sad. We're regressing as a society.
The kind of response you'd expect from women. I have 2 interview videos on my channel which both involved approaching countless women. I'd estimate about 100 total. And none of these resulted in getting shouted at or having the women shaking after the interaction.
That's because most women don't react that way. I mean, I've seen butt ugly people, like people with like facial deformities, just go up and talk to random people, and they won't be like scared at the initial reaction. But if you say something dumb, sure they might have a weird face, but it really depends on what you say, how you say it, your body language, that really just unlocks the cheat code. If you know how to do all that, you'll unlock the cheat code, no problem. But if you're just constantly focused on your face, if you spend like 2 hours a day trying to look good, trying to look smacks, you're not gonna have any time to get money. You're not gonna have any time to socialize. You're not gonna have any time to read books, to do anything. That's two precious hours of your day just gone.
Instead, for the most part, even the ones who didn't want to participate.
Now notice how this lady right here does not look interested, which is the ironic thing about this whole video. Look, she has the blankest face ever. She's just like, when can this be over? And this guy doesn't even realize it because he's so focused on his face, he has no personality. Oh, I'm just going to sit here with a blank face and just ask questions in my British accent with no personality. And, you know, he's not getting any, because if he was getting any, he would have took those girls home, which he clearly did not.
Would be respectful and politely decline, so we'd all carry on about our day. I was even thinking of getting my filming assistant to record me approaching the women, including the rejections, to show you how polite most people are if you walk up to them as an average or above average guy. But, going back to this woman, I find it unbelievable she had this rush of adrenaline, her fight or flight response kicking in, and felt a need to record a TikTok announcing to the world her trauma.
That's one person. I've seen attractive looking dudes freaking approach women and get yelled at. I've seen like 8 out of 10 men just approach women, get yelled at. A lot of women do this to suit their ego. A lot of women just reject men because they want to boost their ego. They're like, I'm just gonna go to the nightclub and I'm just gonna reject every guy I see in front of my friends, to show that I am be above them. That's how a lot of women see things. They don't actually have any interest in having a conversation with anybody. They just want an ego boost. They just want followers on social media. They just want likes. They just want affirming views on themselves. They'd rather be single and have a good ego than humble herself to a man and get in a relationship. That's just how most women see things.
Just for being approached by a guy in the parking lot. There's only two possibilities. Either she's the biggest drama queen in the world, or the guy who approached is the ugliest guy in the world. Quote 2. He was probably 30 feet from me when he said, "Excuse me, ma'am." For those that missed, 30 feet. This is just shy.
So he's debunking himself. If he's 30 feet away, you can't really see the guy's face. Like, if a guy was 30 feet away, dang, something's outside getting eaten. Did you guys hear that, guys? Something outside is literally getting eaten. That was creepy. But anyway, if a guy is 30 feet away and the woman's looking at him, she won't be able to see his face. She'll barely be able to make out his height. And it'll just be hard to see. If you were like 10 feet away, 5 feet away, you might be able to see his face. You might see all the imperfections if you're very close. But if maybe his breath stinks, maybe he has body odor, maybe has acne, wrinkles, but you can't really see all that 30 feet away.
Of 10 meters, so he's left 2-3 car lengths of space before approaching her. More than enough room to not startle her. He also said "excuse me," which is as polite as you can get if you're going to walk up to a stranger. What it comes down to is, the man did nothing wrong. I repeat, the man did.
Well, we already know that, but, you know, people are crazy. There's a lot of Karens, there's a lot of evil people out here. There's a lot of people that just want their ego boosted. There's a lot of crazy men. There's just crazy people. We live in America where there's no mental health assistance. There's no stable community. People live like in pods. People live in pod houses. People don't interact with their neighbors. We live in a world or a country where there's no sort of community. So when there's no sort of community, people go crazy. People do things that don't seem rational. People start to hate the people they live around because they are so lonely. They are so isolated.
Did nothing wrong. And she would have never responded this way if a woman approached her or an attractive man did. My point is, only ugly guys get this level of treatment from women. In fact, this leads great into the next point, because it's not just women who...
Now notice, every time he shows an ugly guy, they always have a sad face. Why can't he show a quote-unquote ugly guy smiling? Maybe he has white teeth, maybe he has a good smile, you don't know, because this guy only shows the saddest looking people. Depression puts people in an ugly state. Once you're depressed, you look ugly to everybody in the world. So this guy's clearly got a depressed state on him that doesn't really have anything to do with his looks. And I'm pretty sure that the quote-unquote attractive guy he showed was smiling. So yeah, this is just a huge grift. He knows what he's doing when he's making these videos. Do you guys seriously think he's just gonna come out and say, oh man, I'm a grifter. I actually chose the person smiling as the attractive man. I chose the person frowning as a quote-unquote ugly man. And I would just out him as a grifter. So yeah, I'm not gonna spend too much time on this video. Yeah, you get it. It's a huge grift. Wheat Waffles is a con artist. He's a scammer. He has probably killed thousands of men based on his rhetoric, driving them to suicide, telling them they're not enough, telling them they'll never be anything just because of the way they were born, telling them people don't want them, telling them people see them as a different species that needs eradication. This guy is evil, just like the Manosphere version of Stalin. All these people need to be extinct. They don't ever love you. Blah 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 blah. No. If you had any common sense, you should not be watching these kinds of videos. I used to watch these kinds of videos all the time. And you know what? It didn't make me happy. It didn't improve my life at all. It just amplified all my emotions, all my insecurities, and it made them worse by watching these videos. If you really want to get some sort of girlfriend or wife, you need to start small. Don't start by doing a whole bunch of calculations, trying to find your sexual market value. How about practice your communication skills? Do what you like to do. Go to the gym. Go to the movies with somebody. It doesn't even have to be a girl. Go with friends. Do something. Go to the beach. Go for a walk every day. You will find people eventually that you will have some sort of connection with. So this guy is all negative. All negativity. Oh, you'll never be... Like, most of the most popular people that have ever existed could be considered ugly by today's standards. How many U.S. President Abraham Lincoln was ugly and he had a wife. Abraham Lincoln is considered the ugliest president ever and he had a wife. Meanwhile, there are attractive looking presidents that have been in the White House and they never got married. So what the heck is going on? This guy, he's clearly using all examples that suits his point of view while ignoring all the examples that refute it.